Karthi Chidambaram ji.
Thank you, sir. Before I go to the President's address, I think I'm duty-bound to allude to my young friend who referred when he spoke earlier. Coincidentally, my young friend and I actually share a birthday. And unfortunately, he's not here to listen to me, and I'm sure he will listen to me via the social media. In his eagerness to please his leader, he actually ended up sounding like the leader of a fan club and not like an independent-minded member of parliament. Sir, I was very glad that he reaffirmed that his party believes in unity in diversity. And he referred to Shyama Prasad Mukherjee ji's speech in the Constituent Assembly. And he said the genesis of his political party comes from Sri Mukherjee, and they believe in unity in diversity. But that's really not the reality, sir, of their actions. The ruling party in India today believes uniformity is unity. And we in the Congress party and we in the opposition will always fight to preserve the cultural, linguistic and religious diversity of India. We will fight this, one that policy of this government. One language, one religion, one kind of culture, now even one temple, one God. And even taking away the diverseness of our nation will always be resisted. Sir, while the ruling party might have to please its leader and indulge in sycophancy, the reality of their India and the reality of what is actually happening is very, very different. Sir, our Honorable President was ceremoniously brought into this House with a parade with the Sengol leading the way. The Sengol stands for righteousness and for great virtues. But this much-wanted Sengol has witnessed two events in this very House which have been unprecedented. There has been a criminal trespass in this House which this Sengol witnessed, which many of us were here in the House on December 13th when there were trespassers who jumped from the visitors' gallery. It was a grave failure of security, a grave failure of intelligence, and now we are seeing the spectacle of it being turned into a political circus where that whole trial and the whole arrest is going to be turned into some sort of a political blame game. The Sengol also witnessed something very unprecedented, sir. This Sengol, which stands for righteousness, which stands for democracy, which stands for great justice, saw a spectacle of 146 members being suspended from this House. This Sengol, unfortunately, it was not meant to see these kind of unprecedented events. This Sengol is supposed to see justice. This Sengol is supposed to see fairness. That is the Sengol which brought our President into this House. Now I refer to 5 references from our Honorable President's speech. The first reference is, this is my first address in this new Parliament building. This building resonates with the resolve to respect our democratic and parliamentary traditions. Very high-sounding words, sir. But these high-sounding words did not find merit in inviting the President to inaugurate this House. This President had to wait for this day to come back and address this House, whereas the President should have come here to inaugurate this House. The second claim, sir, the President said, I appreciate all of you for having enacted the Nari Shakti Vandan, it's a tongue twister, sir, for me, Adhiniyam after a wait of 3 decades. This strengthens my government's resolve for women-led development. Everybody knows the reality, sir. Anybody who follows politics knows the reality that the Women's Reservation Bill will only happen after the census and after the delimitation. It is just a mirage which this government has put out in front of everybody, with knowing that these 2 goalposts will never be met because the census is something which has to happen after 2026, and then a delimitation, which is going to be tremendously complicated if you're going to delimit constituencies according to populations, which means you will again penalize the southern states which have limited the population. Sir, I'd like to tell you a small statistic of this government which keeps wanting its commitment to Nari Shakti. Sir, the 17 BJP NDA ruled states account for 60% of all crimes against women. 70% of all rapes against women are committed in these states. So this double-engine sarkar which this government keeps wanting about is in fact a double-edged sword which is actually hurting the women in all these states, sir. I would come to the third claim from the President's speech. Today my government is building modern infrastructure along the entire border. Be it terrorism or expansionism, our forces today are giving a befitting response. I think the Foreign Ministry and the Defense Ministry forgot to give a memo to the President of India, the Honorable President of India, forgot to give her the Pentagon report, which is in public domain, which was filed in 2002, which says, since the 2020 Galwan Valley clash, the People's Liberation Army of China has been having a cozy, continuous presence, setting up their version of a scenic infrastructure along the line of actual control. Till date, we haven't had a categorical statement from the government, be it the Prime Minister, be it the Home Minister, be it the Defense Minister, categorically saying what is actually happening in the actual line of control which borders China, whether there's been incursions or not. Even now, recently, we saw a video, I think 2 days ago, all of us saw it, in Ladakh, our shepherds being prevented and chased away from the grazing land which belongs in our territory by the People's Liberation Army of China. They've been chasing them away from our land. This is the kind of reality which is actually happening, but the President is being misled into believing that our borders are safe and we are creating infrastructure which is keeping intruders away. Sir, another claim of the President's address. My government has brought for the first time development in areas which have remained neglected for decades. I think somebody completely conveniently forgot to mention to the President the crisis which is happening in Manipur. There was not a single reference to the crisis which is happening in Manipur. There was not a single reference to the kind of ethnic strife which is happening in Manipur. But this government was congratulating itself for developing areas which have been neglected for decades. This is happening right in front of our eyes. There is ethnic strife here. People are being killed even today. And this government is being completely mute to that sad reality and is living in some sort of a Mayan utopia. Sir, the next claim of the President. Last year, my government has given government jobs to lakhs of youth in mission mode. So this very government, in this very house, to a question has said, still 9.64 lakh vacancies are still there in government jobs. So what jobs has this government given to whom? And sir, and we've seen the spectacle of young men from Haryana, from Uttar Pradesh, from Bihar, lining up to take up jobs in Israel and to go and to the Israel border, even though there is a war happening there. And they are saying it is better to work and die there than to die here without any work. That is the sad reality of the youth in India today, sir. They are willing to go to conflict zones to get jobs because there are no jobs here. But here, we are misleading, the government is misleading the President into believing that job creation is actually happening here, where the reality is that Indian youth are willing to go to strife areas to get jobs. Sir, the next claim of the President, this is a slightly longer one, indulge me please. After 75 years, the young generation relived that period of freedom struggle. Amrit Kalash, containing soil from every village of this country, were brought to Delhi. Over 2 lakh plaques were installed. More than 70,000 Amrit Sarovars were built. Construction of more than 2 lakh Amrit Vatikas were completed. These are all high in symbolism, sir. Very low in substance. Can this government say how many IITs they opened? Can this government say how many IIMs they opened? Even the much wanted aims of medical colleges and hospitals they said they are opening. None of them have come out in reality. For example, the one in Madurai, the Bhumi Puja was done 4 years ago. I know that when you do Bhumi Puja, you can do certain things very quickly. We've seen that, which what happened now recently. But this Bhumi Puja for the medical college and the hospital was done 4 years ago, and still that is not ready. In fact, the medical students in Madurai AIIMS are studying in Ramanathapuram. They will actually graduate from a college in Ramanathapuram, but their certificates will say they graduated from Madurai AIIMS. This is the reality of this government. High on symbolism and low on substance. This has been the hallmark of this government for the last 5 years, sir. Sir, as I conclude, this is probably the last speech many of us will be making in this August House in the 17th Lok Sabha. And I want to thank you personally because most of the times I've spoken in this House, you've been in the chair. You are some sort of a lucky charm for me. I hope the same lucky charm continues for both of us in the next Lok Sabha as well. But, sir, I only have one hope. When the next Lok Sabha is convened, I hope this Sengol will see the righteousness and the virtuousness and the justice and the democracy it deserves to see, and not this acrimony which has been the hallmark of this house. Thank you very much, sir.
இந்த வீடியோ உங்களுக்கு பிடிச்சிருந்தா ப்ளீஸ் லைக் அண்ட் ஷேர் பண்ணுங்க. மறக்காம எங்க சேனலை சப்ஸ்கிரைபும் பண்ணுங்க.